have before Dr. what's his name? Dr. Paul, I know I will come to you in a few. So Yao Noel, the president of UJPELA, the Union of Journalists for African Free Press, is asking what are the strategies to avoid? It's the same question. I think Heather answered the question. One imperialism replacing another imperialism. I think Heather answered the question. You want to stress it, or we can
please, Dr. Nyaka.
Yes.
Yeah, please, Dr. Nyaka. Excuse me. I think the question has been answered, but I have another question.
Okay.
What are the parts of democracy? I mean, the democratic government, good government, in the whole strategy to fight against those kind of imperialism. Do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Should I speak now?
Yes, Dr. Paul.
Okay, so I think, and I was reading all the comments, and the one thing I would have to say is the way empires and other nations treat African nation states is relative to how, and this is in the comments also, is relative to how African nation states are, one, anti-corrupt, and two, interdependent, or I should even flip the order of that. How the African independence movement, the mistake that we made in the middle of that movement is African interdependence didn't stay our number one priority. These little non-viable states start protecting themselves, and then the vultures, the economic vultures around the world begin to take advantage of us. And as long as we may remain these non-viable states, even the United States came and set military bases all over the continent, which the revolutionaries of the independence movement would have been turning over in their grave at this point in terms of relationship. In terms of how people speak of China's relationship with Africa and the hope that they had during the independence movement, when they lost that hope, they were still looking at their national interest. And I think people are right that China is very invasive in Africa, but it's a natural kind of thing where economies don't recognize voids. And whenever there is some vulnerability of a given political entity, economies will swoop in and take advantage of it. This is like world economies. So I still think China, and I've been to many parts on the continent where China has done this kind of soft power invasion. They come, they build a building. They don't charge you for building a building, but they control it for a number of years, and then they say they'll turn it over. But as long as our focus is just on European neocolonialism, we won't see other countries that have other needs that'll be coming to Africa and taking advantage of the weakness of the economies. I don't think they do it just because they're greedy. I think they do it, they're looking at their national interests, and they're saying that if these African governments, as Milton said earlier in the chat, if these African governments are not going to protect the African masses, that's kind of tough on them. I think that that's how they see it. And I think that that causes some kind of contradiction also. So to sum it up, African interdependence, what I mean, Pan-African movement, West Africa, with South Africa, with other African communities, not just states, but communities and their class alliance within those communities and nations will make the African populace stronger. Then just like Nkrumah said, you'll have a better deal if you're dealing with the IMF, World Bank, or China. Because the more power you have, the better your interest rates are, the better, and maybe you're not just getting loans anymore. Maybe Africa, an interdependent Africa that's united, may give loans to other places in the world with no credit interest so that it's not being a usurer. But the bottom line is that until African entities and the zones of Africa are really truly liberated and united, then other countries will be taking advantage of Africa everywhere in the world, and Africans everywhere in the world, because we're not mature enough as a species yet where we don't allow that to happen. That takes ideological awareness and training every day for those who are in our world to look at the human interest and not put profit over life, or even profit in front of life, private profit, in front of life. That's all I have to say. Thank you for the time.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Paul. I see so many comments in the group chat. I cannot follow all of them. But Milton, I saw you posted so many questions. You put so many comments. Can you have like only 1 minute, try to put everything that we put there together for the speakers and for the audience? Milton Alimadi.
Yeah, could you please go to Mary first? Because I think she had her hand up very long time ago.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, you're right.
I'm sorry, Milton.
No, you're right. I've seen it. I was going to go back to her, but it is because the conversation that Milton is raising is connected to the current one. That's why I was going to go to Mary in a few. So yes, Milton.
All right, thank you, first of all, for organizing this very impactful event. Okay, so let me try to wrap everything up together. At the end of the day, obviously, African unity is the only solution, because that's how we can get a better terms of trade. We can get more fair prices for our raw commodities, and that in itself will diminish the need for us to need the loans, whether it's from the West or whether it's from China. And in order to do that, we need to have progressive governments in each and every African country, the governments of the vision of Thomas Sankara or Kwame Nkrumah, because at the end of the day, our worst enemies are reactionary governments in African countries. But then my quick comment on China, the China of the 21st century is not the same as the China of the 1960s and 70s that built the Tanzania-Zambia Railway, basically as a gift. As Samir Amin said, China could really help us if China was helping to transfer technology to Africa, because that would allow us to industrialize. And I agree with Samir Amin when he said we can get hundreds of millions of dollars in loans from China, but it will not help if it does not come with transfer of technology. And that's what Africa really needs from China. Transfer of technology helps us to industrialize. It will be a win-win for Africa and for China, and it will be a loss for the IMF, the World Bank, and the global West. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Milton. I like the way we're doing this conversation. The comments are short, the questions are short, the answers are deep and short, so I like that. So Mary, sorry, go ahead, Mary.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I thank the organizers of this wonderful discussion. I had just 6 kind of recommendations or factors that would ensure hope for Africa. First of all, I think whether China has got some advantages that is bringing it on the continent in terms of economic development. But we should also remember that China is not really, and remember, that's where economic interests have to be, to supersede the political interest. So if you are promoting economic interest, you tend to divert away from political structure because you want a favorable political background. So I think that is what kind of pushes China to avoid anything in as far as promoting democracy and so on. But remember also, US stands strong for that. So for me, I recommend a joint involvement of both, especially if they are there to help Africans. Therefore, they shouldn't mind why they too cannot meet there and work together to promote Africa in general. That takes me to the next issue, which is nationalism. If you remember, I would say any really nationalistic nation works in the interest of their people. The problem that we usually, Africans, we don't see is that there is nobody who is coming there for free. What we need to do is also to gain confidence and a negotiating ability that whoever comes, we are able to say, yes, you are here to help us and develop, but this is also what we want from you. I think that has been lacking, whereby we tend to take what is offered and we don't bring our stake there. So whether the imperialists, whether the Europeans, they are always going out there for the benefits of their communities. It's high time Africans also realize that we have also our interests that we can put on the table and we work together. Otherwise, Africa is still a growing really economy. It would be so hard to say that, oh, we don't want Americans there, oh, we don't want Chinese there, oh, we don't want Europeans there. That drives me to the third point. Colonization.
Mary,
yes,
how many
please.
points do you have, Mary?
4, and I'm done. So
well,
colonization.
You have 4?
4, yes.
Okay,
And this is the last one.
Oh, the last one.
So
Thank God.
the trauma of colonization, majority of other countries were all, remember, USA used to be a colony of England, but when they got independent, they were able to be a partner for England. So was Australia. So any strong community will always take advantage of the weaker one until the weaker one has proved that, hey, let us stop there. Then you become a partner. So I think Africans will have to understand that as long as we are continuing to be vulnerable and weak, different communities are going to come and take over. So it's high time we are able to negotiate. That was my contribution, and I thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much, Mary. And I like your comments, and particularly the last part. The problem is that if we are weak, it's not, if we are weak and then divided, hey, whoever has the opportunity to take advantage will do so. So yeah, thank you so much. That's a wonderful contribution, like most of them or all of them. So is there any other comment or questions? I think that I've seen okay, so that's a friend for Dr. What's his name, Idris. He said that the difference between China and the Western is that China has never slaughtered Africans, even though it has been viewed as an imperialist power. As such, China could be a good partner for Africa. And then so that is his comment. And so another one. What can I see? Okay, okay. Noel. So Noel asked a question. It was about democracy. I cannot even see that here. But anyway, so any other question? Ange David, do you have a question? Or Governor, just 1 second.
Yes, I have a little one.
Okay.
Thank you, first of all, to have this conversation and to bring very fantastic and wonderful speakers. Thank you a lot, Dr. Nyaka. My small one is a bit concerning the way we are trying to collaborate as African, and this issue related to power, because we also have that kind of issue related to imperialism. We are also asking the question if in the collaboration it will not be the same, where a country like maybe Russia or China have kind of attitude concerning imperialism, because we also face in some African country workers, for example, from China or other country who have to deal with African workers, and sometimes they have inequality in the relationship. So a bit my observation is around that. It is more around that, how we can deal with the fact that we don't want to repeat the same imperialism we face vis-a-vis of European country, or maybe another imperialist state. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Before I go to the governor, I see David Buller. Nice to know that you are here. David Buller said that my question or my comment is that Natalie Yamb, she's an activist. She was in Ivory Coast, a Swiss Cameroonian, and then she played a major role in the struggle for freedom in Ivory Coast. And then she went to Sochi, I think last year or 2 years ago. And then there was a panel there. It was hugely and highly televised. And then she attacked the interests of France. So when she went back to Ivory Coast, she was asked by the president to leave the country. And then I think she went back to Switzerland. So she became a very important figure after the Sochi conference. And then David Buller is quoting her here, saying that he thinks that Natalie Yamb is right, that Africans should adopt the concept of cryptocurrency transaction in order to overcome, I think, French neocolonialism. So, to overcome all these issues. So, the speakers, so do you want to react to the issue of the cryptocurrency paradigm as Africans are fighting for economic sovereignty. So Heather.
I don't really have too much to say about using the cryptocurrency, aside from to say that it appears to have been helpful in general across different oppressed groups as like access to Wall Street. So that's really interesting to see, and to see how that will be used. But I think the most important question, and again, this is just from a kind of internationalist, anti-imperialist perspective, is at this point, this immediate time, when the United States and France are working so closely together to be able to send troops into Africa whenever they want, very quickly on short missions, and where there are still bases across the continent in order to preserve US and European interests. How does Africa defend itself? I think that's the primary question.
Okay, thank you, Heather. Paseka, about the question of cryptocurrency.
With cryptocurrency, I'm currently conflicted because until this day, the research that we have on it, it's still not as, it's still not as concrete as I'd like it to be for us to move towards that direction. I find it very difficult for us to move towards something that as a continent, we have not formally or successfully developed our own currencies. And now we are discussing the realm of cryptocurrency, and especially a continent that's fragile, economically fragile, and technologically lagging. We will be taking advantage of. I think one of the comments there by Lukman, Lukman Nation, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, is very important because it addresses some of the problems that we have as a continent. Basically, for us to be able to engage in cryptocurrency, we have to be able to engage technologically. One of the important points that colleagues have been making and comrades have been making earlier on was that China should be transferring technology more than anything to the continent for us to develop ourselves. So once that is done, then only then can we get into the realm of discussing things like cryptocurrency. If we do not have the resources, if we do not have the technology, then now as a continent, we will continue to lag behind. We'll be taken advantage of, as we've seen even the United States itself with first world technology being taken advantage of by hackers and whatnot. So I think that's a very complex one, yet if we move away from what we know as currency right now as a continent, we might be successful because we'll be moving away from ideas that go against us. But we have to be cognizant of the fact that to move into the realm of cryptocurrency, we have to have the capabilities, the technology, and the resources to be able to engage in that reality. Noel, I want to answer your question, but I'm not too clear on it. So, Nyaga, we can continue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so, Governor.
Thank you for letting me say something about the topic. Nyaka, one of the things that I wanted to bring up in that wonderful conversation is, especially regarding BRICS, people seems to actually kind of like forget the power of Russia in the whole process. The reason why I'm saying that is this: you can have as much money or funding for the development of your country, but if there's no security, you're screwed. I'm saying that because in dealing with China, even if China comes in and invests in your country, if the Westerners or the Western country decide to bring you a rebellion, for example, nothing can protect you. The Chinese would not actually try to secure their investment. They will let you go down and they come back to you and say, well, we'll lend you the money, and then of course you owe us the money. The good thing about dealing with Russia, for example, is the aspect of the security that they can bring to you. We've seen it with Cuba. We've seen it we're seeing it right now with Syria. They actually built a strong relationship with Syria, and then today Syria is in trouble because where the Western countries are attacking Syria, and then Syria is being protected by Russia. So with BRICS, one of the biggest country or the benefit of dealing with BRICS is you have the opportunity to deal with Russia because they do have the know-how, the technology. You can easily get technology transfer from them. It may not be the best, but you will still get something to start from. On top of that, if you have investment from them, you can be sure that you can also get some kind of guarantee security. We've seen it with the Central African Republic. Right now, the Russians are involved and they're getting good return. If you're dealing with China exclusively, I don't think we can definitely get that. That was my contribution. I don't know what the speakers have to say about that point, if they can actually say something about it.
Okay, thank you very much, Governor.